So I do see one that's on here that is I do not recognize, and I don't want to put them on the spot, but 1+ is that Stephanie by chance?
Good morning. I think I'm here.
Hi, is this Stephanie Herman?
Yes, sorry.
No, you're all good. You got it. You're here. So first off, let me thank you for coming in today and talking to us and give us an opportunity to interview you for this position.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity as well.
Well, people stepping up to be on these boards is everything for us. With that, I'm going to be asking you some questions. The commission will be asking you some questions. There's 5 total questions. I want you to understand there is no right, there is no wrong answer. These are just something that gives us an opportunity to get to know a little bit about you and who you are. Of course, being brief is always appreciated, but if you feel you need to extrapolate out and explain a little more, please feel free to. With that, because we have only 5 questions, Commissioner Trask, if you wouldn't mind starting us out, and then Commissioner Schutte, then Commissioner Trask again, then Commissioner Schutte, and I'll take item number 5.
All right, sounds perfect. Stephanie, thank you for submitting your application. That's pretty awesome. So what do you see as the function of the Lewis-Mason-Thurston Area Agency on Aging Advisory Board?
The function of the advisory board, well, honestly, I've never been on an advisory board, so I know that we want to make sure that our elderly and our younger disabled people are receiving all the services and are aware of services that are available in the community to help them. My interest is really nutrition. So, and I also have a background in problem solving and, sorry, I'm super nervous.
No,
Yeah.
that's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, no, that was a perfect answer.
Yeah.
Stephanie, again, thanks for joining us this morning. The next question that we have for you is just why would you like to serve on this board?
Because I have a passion for helping people in the community. I was a nurse for 20 years and I'm newly retired and realizing that I'm missing that. I'm missing being able to help and make an impact. I've always had an interest in our elderly population. And then now my focus and interest now is just helping improve maybe with education, particularly around proper nutrition. So that's kind of my focus.
Great.
Right. So the council meets the first Wednesday of each month at the Area Agency on Aging office in Olympia from approximately 9:30 until noon. Right now it's via Zoom. Would this be an issue?
No, that would not be an issue.
All right, thank you.
And finally, do you have any conflicts of interest with the mission of this advisory board?
None.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate you again, like I said, for coming in and answering. We have one final question, and that is, do you have any questions for us?
Well, do you think I would be a fit for helping out?
Commissioner Trask serves on that board. What do you think, Commissioner?
I think she would be a great fix. I know one of the topics that's discussed frequently is nutrition. You know, wanting to make sure that the meals that are that the clients that we have their meals are nutritious. So with your background, I think that would be a very valuable skill.
Perfect. Well, then I look forward to it.
Do you have any other questions for us, Stephanie?
No, I don't. Sorry for the bumbling stumbling with the Zoom. I was fortunate enough to miss all that during the pandemic. So
Well, we will go ahead and discuss this at the end of our meeting, and we will be getting a hold of you shortly to let you know what's happening.
great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for coming in today, Stephanie.
Thanks,
And
Stephanie.
thank you.
Okay, so next up, we're going to go ahead and move into Public Works. Loretta Swanson.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Happy Monday. We've got a pretty light agenda today, and first up is just a discussion item on, we have a couple of applicants for our Solid Waste Advisory Committee. And Commissioners interviewed both, so just an opportunity to discuss and make a recommendation on appointment.
So on that one, if I'm not mistaken, we have two, one for the actual area that we need representation, and then another one that would fill a spot that we could fill with somebody from another area because we don't have any other applications from that area. Is that correct?
We have two applicants representing the same commissioner district. I'm going to restate that, but I think we're going to say the same thing, Commissioner. Two applicants from the same district. And yes, in other advisory committees, we have appointed to fill an open spot. So if that's the commission's desire, we can absolutely do that.
And personally and historically, I've always found that if it's been open for a while, it's better to have two from the same area than to have an empty seat. And historically also, when their term is over, that goes back to wherever the position was needed from at the time. So I personally don't have any issue with appointing both.
I don't either. I think, yeah, they're both from my district, but they both sound like they're passionate about solid waste. So I think I would be comfortable moving them up.
I would as well, and I think Commissioner Trask hit the nail on the head. I think they both bring a lot of interest and passion for solid waste, which is more than geography. I think what matters when people are wanting to sign up for these advisory board positions. So I'm good with appointing both Karen and Mr. Stommer.
Great. Thank you, Commissioners. We will get that on the action agenda. And that is about it. I do have one commissioner follow-up. Commissioner Netherland, you had a signing request and the signs have been ordered, and I believe we're waiting for utility locates to complete the actual install. So that's
Don't be cutting into the power lines.
no, that would not be a good thing.
Could you give us the times on these other meetings that you have here for upcoming items?
Sure. Just a moment. Let me pull that up on my happy little calendar. So the meeting with the Southside School Board is from 5 until 6:30. And then the Freight Corridor open house is, bear with me here. Well, that pops to the wrong meeting.
I have 4:30 to 7.
There you go.
At the
Thank
North
you.
Mason, at the North Mason High School.
Yes, it is at North Mason High School. And then tip cap is at 4:30 as well.
And up here at Public Works?
At Public Works, yes, that's correct.
Okay. Does anybody have anything for Loretta?
It sounds like a great Valentine's Day on tap.
I know, right? Yes, indeed. I guess the other thing I'd like to mention, since we don't have briefing on Monday, right, is National Engineers Week coming up. Woohoo, engineers!
We should celebrate them.
That's right. We do on a daily basis, right?
Yes. Yes.
How do you sell it? Do you get the slide rules out and like play?
Right. The pocket protectors.
Yeah, okay.
A while ago, I saw this goofy meme of, it says it's National Engineers Week, give one a hug. They won't like it, and it shows this person. So no engineer hugs. Maybe.
I remember when Melissa McFadden was here, one of the things she said when I first met her was, she said, "There's a new breed of engineers out there where they're both smart and have personalities." Great sense of humor.
Yes, indeed.
Hey, so Loretta, when will we be looking at getting those community forums regarding the rates?
Yeah. Oh, thank you for reminding me about that, Commissioner Neville. And that was the other thing I wanted to speak about. So we've been, Stephanie, our finance manager, has put together outreach letters. So we've got that packet for you to take a look at. We also have our layout of what we will be presenting, but what's been kind of hanging us up is getting current, accurate, good meter reads. And I'm not sure if Richard's on here, but we finally drilled into that one. So I believe today we will have another read, and we should be able to have all the good information that we can share, real information, with those folks that are on our water meters. So we're there. And then Commissioner Trask, I know you're going to be out for a little bit. We were thinking about a workshop towards the end of the month, but don't want to do that while you're gone. So we have some scheduling to consider, but would like to get with commissioners to go over our outreach plan.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. I will be gone March 6th through the 21st.
Okay, great. So if we do something the last week of February, that sounds like that might be a good time then.
Yep.
Okay, good deal. And is a workshop format best, commissioners? I think it, would take a little bit of time to be able to focus, if that's okay
If you
with
can
you.
make it as good as our last workshop, it'd be wonderful.
Okay.
We just had a great workshop. I have no problems making the extra time to do it on a day, commissioners. Any
Yeah,
issue?
I think it'd be great to do it on a day we don't. Well, I mean, either right after a business meeting, or on a Tuesday we don't have a business meeting, like we did with community development last week. I thought that was a really good use of the time.
Yep. I would
Okay.
agree. So either one of those would work for me as well, Commissioner Trask.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So we look forward to you putting that together for us, Loretta.
All right, great. And thank you for bringing that up, Commissioner.
Anything else for Loretta?
Loretta, if you could have somebody go and check the intersection of Cole and Lynch. I
Okay.
believe a yield sign has been removed.
Okay, great.
Hey,
Not
going in the back
great.
of a pickup somewhere through town.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Loretta.
All right. Thank you, commissioners.
Commissioners, real quick on utility rates and the meter stuff. So I think sometimes that the what do they say, the perfection impairs progress. So there are a number of meters that we don't have good data on. The team is working to get those meters replaced and going. But I do think that in certain circumstances where those meters were not operating correctly, we're going to have to estimate and provide those residents with an estimate to say, hey, if you use X amount of water, if we went to a graduated rate, average water consumption is this. As long as you stay within that average, this is what your bill will look like. But if you go over, it'll be something else. My concern is if we try and wait to get good data, then it's going to continue to push this out. And I'd prefer to see us have the discussions, even if we don't have good data on all the residential connections.
Mark and I'll agree. I would rather not get into each individual person's stuff anyway when we're doing our community outreach and stuff, because first of all, it's not doable, and then you're held to something that may not be perfect because they changed their use. So I'd rather just keep it along the parameters that we've always talked, which is this is what it is, this is what we want to do. This will have this effect and, you know, on the general population. Commissioners, do you have any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think high level is better. Being able to just show what the approach is going to be, and letting, if people have specific questions about their usage, I think we can be available to answer those questions on a case by case basis. But I think just saying this is how we're going to approach billing in the future. You'll get your first bill with this in place, and you'll know if you need to, if you're comfortable with what you're paying and the usage is, then great. If not, conserve it and continue to work on it.
Yep, I would agree. I think
Thank you.
All right.
With providing options, please. Remember, was the idea was, okay. All right, thank you very much. Next up, support services, Mark.
Thank you. So first off, Jen's going to talk about a report that she provided to you on treatment sales tax. She's got a couple items, looks like top 3.
Good morning, commissioners. Yes, I have the treatment sales tax, the transfers from 2023. And 2023, first of all, looks a little bit different than previous years because we only billed 3 quarters, quarters 1, 2, and 3 in 2023. Quarter 4 was billed in 2024, so that departments weren't scrambling after the first the last payroll of the year to get that bill in. So that has worked out really well, except for we had 2 departments that didn't get their billings in at all in 2023. And so those are OPD. I did receive a bill from Peter in early January, and then a bill from the clerk I have not received at all. I think they had done one and sent it over to the health department, but it included ITA costs, which aren't eligible. So we need to get that rebuild. But first, I wanted to ask you if you would be willing to put that or put those bills into 2024's budget to get those transfers in to 2024. So the amount that the clerk's office, that I would ask for them to be added in, is $20,104. That's 3/4 of what they have budgeted for 2023. And then public defense had $157,259 that they had billed, but their budget was only $80,000. The amount basically almost doubled because their rate went from $60 an hour to $100 an hour. So that's where the big difference is there.
Both of these hold off until our next scheduled budget adjustment.
Yeah, I would definitely, if you're willing to put them into the budget, I would not put them in until June when we
I'm
do.
comfortable with that, doing it at that time. Commissioners,
Thanks.
Yep.
there you go.
Great, thank you. And then the other one that I've brought up in the past, and I didn't put on this briefing, is the jail's costs. They always have a higher bill, more costs than what, I mean, they billed out their full amount for 2023. But in the future, it's just something you might want to think about increasing their dollar amount. So I think they had roughly 150-some thousand that they could have billed just for 3 quarters, and we had a full 4 quarters budgeted at 120,000. So I'm anticipating their costs to be much higher for 2024. So I just wanted to throw that out there, something to keep in mind.
I'm comfortable with you bringing that forward as well.
Okay, so maybe for the
I see.
5 budget, or we can relook at that in 24 later on. Thank you. So the next thing that I have is, are there any other discussion or thoughts on that before I move on?
Nope, you're good to go.
Okay, the next thing that I have is the Blake agreement. So we just have an amendment to that agreement that ends in June 30th of 2024. AOC sent the amendment, and all it's doing is adding the word clerk into the purpose, reimbursement, and terms of reimbursement sections. So I guess they had left clerk off. And I think this is statewide. I don't think it's, specific to Mason County. So that's all this is just a formality to amend that original agreement to add clerk into those sections.
Any heartburn with that, commissioners?
None.
No issues with that, but this is, I think, one of those things that we have to figure out the signing authority on. So initially, when this contract was first signed, I was chair and signed it on behalf of the county. They still have me listed as a signer, and I routinely get emails for them. So I think we need to just kind of figure out how that's going to, I mean, it would be appropriate for Commissioner Netherland to sign this amendment as chair. But that might be worth a conversation with AOC about how they populate their contracts and that kind of thing, so that there is flexibility on these over time.
Well, we could always make the motion to allow Commissioner Schutte to sign.
It's great until there's an amendment and
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering because I bet we're not alone if they're
Yeah.
populating it with just, the previous person, that people often change, especially chairs.
Yeah, so I don't even know if, I don't know, maybe Mark and Jen, you guys could do some research on that part of it. I mean, we'll sign this when we have to, just to get, however we have to, just to get it done. But going forward, might be worth a conversation with AOC about how to handle it. Maybe it's an administrator signature with approval by the commission or something along those lines.
I'll reach out to AOC.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So
What else you got next?
the last thing that I have is the ARPA projects organized by, and I'll share my screen so you can see it. So the ARPA projects that we have outstanding or that we have obligated, and the balance of the remaining completed projects. And then I wanted to go over the balance of the remaining open projects. So the completed projects, we have a total of $240,325. And here's those projects broken down. Here we have the IT infrastructure, a couple bucks left there, $163. The Lakeland pump station, we have $2,567. The jail elevators and doors, $6,409. Crossroads, $8,261. The Belfair pump station improvement project, $16,627. The prosecutor's office, the second floor expansion, $36,576. The pump station, Belfair pump station #1 improvement project, we have $82,461. And then the Hood Canal customer arrearages, $87,261. So that's what makes up the $240,325. Some of the projects on the balance remaining, some of this is definitely going to be expended, and some of it maybe not. So I wanted to go over that with you too. This one, the $5,829 for the Emergency and Disaster Response Center for the DEM, that will definitely get expended, maybe by the end of this month. The ones that I'm thinking we may want to move into into lost revenue or reassign as lost revenue under, we can assign things for lost revenue under any general government purpose. And a good way to or a good thing to expend on might be public safety, because we have, about 17 million budgeted there, very little grant offsetting revenue there. So basically we could assign some of these things to general public safety, and then still expend these funds out of the general fund or wherever they're assigned. But that way we don't have to worry about it if it runs past our deadline. So just a thought there. So the signing bonus for the correction deputies, 10,760. I'm thinking that one would be a good one to do that with, just to get that done.
How would that be handled?
So when we report ARPA in the Treasury's system, we have all of these projects broken down in there. So we would just have to basically reallocate that from one project to another. So we would have to say that this project is voided or reassigned. I don't remember exactly what the exact wording is in there, but it's something along those lines. So we would basically make that project be zero at whatever point in time we reallocate these funds, and then we would move those funds to another open project.
Or we could pay it out of the general fund and just move it all over. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that is what I'm saying is, and I think that you've had this idea, before, but it's just getting the proper terminology.
Yeah.
With that. So, yeah, we would just say it was for, public safety or whatever we choose to expend those funds on under lost revenue. But lost revenue can be spent on any government service. So, and we have up to $10 million that is just the basic,
Under your signing bonus for corrections deputies, when is the end date for that option?
I believe it's sometime in 2025, but we can't guarantee that those deputies are going to stay. So, if they end up leaving and there's nobody to pay, then we're out. We lose out on.
I see what you're saying. So that makes sense. So, okay, we'll have to have a talk about just moving that to the general fund, or
Yeah, so it would still be received in the general fund and then paid out of the general fund, but we could choose to say that it was just for general public safety. I think it would be a safer option. We wouldn't have to worry about having to turn those funds back after 2024. So I think that would be a good option for. I'll highlight the ones that I'm thinking here.
well, if we did that, we'd have to have that set up for that budget amendment time as well, right?
I don't think we would have to do a budget amendment for that, because I have all of these funds. They're shown as expenditures already under ARPA. So it would not take any budget amendment there.
Even though we're taking it out of the general fund instead of the special funds?
I mean, yeah, we pay it out of the general fund and then we code correct it into out of ARPA. So,
But if we don't take it out of ARPA, okay,
we would still take it out of ARPA. We would still have to, we would transfer it from ARPA into the general fund is I think how the best way to handle that would be. And that would not require a budget amendment either. I would just have to reallocate within ARPA. So it's just like an internal accounting, since that money is already budgeted. And we can talk about that later if that doesn't make sense. Or if it's, if you need.
No, it does. I guess it's still, if we start talking larger numbers and stuff, depending on some of these other ones down below it, probably gonna have to do something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
depending on where you're at. I think that sorry, go ahead, Jen. Did I interrupt you?
Oh, go ahead.
I was just thinking that the amount that I'm seeing there for the signing bonuses on corrections, I think that easily will be covered within the existing budget for corrections within the general fund. But definitely something that that Jen monitors and we could capture within a regular budget amendment process if necessary.
Yeah, I mean, that for the sheriff's office, most likely they're not going to need a budget amendment for
Right.
that. We end up paying it out of the general fund and not code correcting it out of ARPA, if that's what you meant.
Yep.
So the utility arrearages and then the property taxes, I'm thinking those would be good options for what I was talking about, reallocating those funds as well.
Mhm.
Along with the Beards Cove, and these are the public works projects, the Beards Cove, and then the Belfair Log Yard road extension. And that I think would work a little bit differently than what I was talking about. We could transfer the funds out of ARPA and into those respective funds. So like the Beards Cove AC mainline replacement, right now we're tied to, that money is coming out of ARPA and into Beards Cove when that happens. So when they do that, but this way, if we put it into the general fund, we could then expend it out of Beards Cove, transfer those funds from the general fund into Beards Cove, because that's a legitimate government expense, general government expense. We could transfer that money if it's budgeted out of the general fund and into Beards Cove. Same thing with transferring out of the general fund and into Belfair Sewer for the Log Yard Road extension design. That way we're not, again, tied to those funds, if that makes sense, through ARPA. And then the other project I was thinking would be good is the DCD, the Records Archival Image. So we could still expend those funds out of DCD, but we could do it all through ARPA this year rather than waiting through 2026. So we could still have them do their accounting to us even, but that way we're not, taking a chance on losing out on those ARPA funds if, for example, like their person or one of their people that they have working over there doesn't stay here. If they quit and we have to rehire, and it takes several months to get them rehired. So it kind of gives us a safety net there. So the ones that I've highlighted add up to $773,330. So if that's something that you want to think about, commissioners, or if you want to talk about it more.
What do you think, Commissioner Schutte? Got any
Yeah, I mean, I think my priority is just making sure that we don't lose any of the money that was allocated to us, and so I'd be interested in maybe chatting a little bit further with you, Jen, about this. But I think the ultimate goal is to protect what we have, follow through on the commitments that we made, and so however you feel like the best way to achieve that is, I'll support it. But we can chat about it a little bit more.
Okay. That
Commissioner
sounds good.
Trask?
Yeah, I would agree. It makes sense in looking at what you have in the packet too, which is on the screen. it's all like you said, it's government functions. And so it makes sense to me that that would be approved.
Yeah, it
Yes.
would definitely be a legitimate ARPA expenditure.
Right, right.
And we would still be doing what you set out to do as a board. So to me, it feels like the best way to move forward, but we can definitely have more discussion, or, you know, if you want to think about it more. That's great. Any other discussion on that before we move on? I did want to talk a little bit about some of the other projects, and I saw that Terry Drexler is on, and maybe has a new contract end date.
Terry, do you want to talk about that? Oh, wait, excuse me 1 second. I'm sorry. Commissioners, are you okay and comfortable with me bringing Terry into the conversation?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I am as well, and I'm also supportive of the request. So, they're, you know.
Yep, I am as well on both aspects. Go ahead, Terry.
Okay, so thank you very much, commissioners. I really appreciate the opportunity to address you today. I did send a letter, but I sent it via Kate, and I looked in your briefing packet and you didn't get it. So I could probably just share with you where we are on the project. So we've already spent around close to a little over $400,000 to purchase the building. We do own the building now, and the rest of the money was for installation of an elevator. And we are unfortunately going further behind than I thought it was going to take to get the design done. Our design should be done by midsummer, and then go to the city for permitting. So we're hoping to go out to bid by late September. And then once we go up to bidding, our architect knows very well that we need to get this money spent. So I'm asking if I could have the monies extended to June 1st of 2026, I believe is the date I put down. But we can definitely work around if you need to have it sooner. Or I'm sorry, 2025. I apologize, 2025.
Okay, I'm feeling a lot better now. I was about to.
Sorry about that.
Jennifer, how are you feeling on that?
I mean, if Terry is comfortable with it, then I'm okay with it. I mean, it is kind of a lot of money to have up in the air, but yeah, I mean, if you're comfortable with it, Terry, and just so you know, the board did get your letter. It just wasn't part of the packet.
Good.
Yeah, Kate forwarded it on to the board. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you're comfortable, then I'm okay with it.
If it's within our parameters, just makes it a little bit nervous for reallocation if something was to happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, if something happens and it can't be expended, then we can't reallocate it. So we are.
Yeah. And when is the reallocation date again? The end date?
31st of 2024.
So Terry, I first off, I appreciate how communicative you've been with us on your project and the funding. I think you guys have done a fantastic job of keeping us looped in on the progress. So I first really just appreciate that. I don't have a particular issue with looking at extending it to your 2025 date. But I think the thing that I would ask is that maybe this fall, maybe in November, you come back to us and give us a status report.
Absolutely.
That way, if you're anywhere different in your timeline and things need to, we would at least be able to work through that with you guys and not push it past to reallocate if things go sideways for you, which hopefully they don't. It's a great project. Want to see it get done. So whatever we need to do to help do that. But I think it would be great to just keep the conversation going, make sure that you're tracking for your 2025 deadline.
Great. Well, thank you. Yes, I will definitely keep you up to speed. And by that time, I'll know a tremendous amount more than I know now. Because once we go out to bid, then all the timing of when things get get done will happen. And I'm hopeful that the elevator will be kind of separated out from some of the other parts of the project.
Excellent. Thank you.
Commissioner
Thank
Trask.
you.
Yeah, no, I love those projects. I think it's awesome. And the what you're doing with the community and helping our youth is so cool. People should really take a look at this and be so proud of what you guys are doing. So appreciate you guys.
Thank you for your kind words. Appreciate it.
So Terry, as we come closer, it's instead of even November, perhaps just in a few months, if there's anything that comes up, please keep us in the loop on that, because maybe there's another way to skin the cat and still make sure it all gets taken care of. We just have to be open to that, and because we don't want this to fall through, and we can't afford to have the money not get expended. You can imagine that. So, but great faith in you to be able to do this. Look forward to whatever you bring forward, but I'll be supportive as well of what you brought already.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate your guys' support.
I'm not too sure skinning the cat, but
Yeah. Any other questions for Terry first? All right, thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
All right, Jennifer.
Yeah, I just wanted to go over a couple of other projects. So the Camp Slice Youth Camp, we've given them the money and they are wrapping up that project. So so yeah, as far as we are concerned, that one is, you know, pretty much done. The Housing Authority, you know, we've had a lot of discussion around that, and they're supposed to be closing on the building and getting that money to us. There's, you know, approximately 468,000 that either needs to be proven that it was expended or returned to us, and so so they are saying that that is going to happen. I believe the 16th of
The
February.
The 16th, you said?
Yes, that was the latest date that George gave to Mark, I believe. This is
And that's of this month, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was hopeful that he'd have the proceeds by the 15th in my phone conversation with Mr. Blush. And he said the first thing that they do is turn around and reimburse the county.
can you just make sure that there are no other commitments and that the county's at the top of the list or reimbursement?
Would you like me to call George and verify that then?
Wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, if George is the,
Well, that's right. Becky
yeah,
Becky is the chair. She's probably
Yeah.
called Becky.
I mean, she's pretty darn new to all of this, and so I wish that there was a way to I wish there was a way to get bank statements or something like that to see just to I'm a little worried. I know that they're very passionate about what they're doing. I just I just really think that, or wish that they would get a CPA or a firm to manage their money going forward.
Yeah. Mark, didn't we ask for the bank statements 4 or 5 months ago?
Oh, we've been asking for them for like however long you've had this whole project, at least a year, over a year.
I mean, the actual, all the bank statements, if we can get them, I thought we requested.
Yeah, we've been asking for those for
Maybe
almost
I
a year.
requested.
And we received some of those through, what would you say, probably July of 23.
Some of them, but not all. So it doesn't create a clear picture. I mean, and again, they can still turn in receipts up until I think it was the November 30th of 2023. You know, to prove that some of that money or all of it, if it was spent correctly. So, so yeah, I mean, it would be nice if it could round up some of those bank statements and receipts so that they didn't have to possibly pay it all back.
And Mark, didn't you contact them after you read the minutes and said some of that stuff to them, or?
I absolutely did.
Oh, you
I
did.
said I had read minutes and it looked like they were continuing to work on units, that just based on the general description that I saw in the minutes, I felt like some of those would be eligible to be covered under this agreement with the county. And all they needed to do is provide us receipts. It's very straightforward. I don't know how else I could tell them that, but it seemed like they were just ready to, or more willing to just turn over the funds. I mean, we've actually done it for them when they gave us the documentation. You know, we went through and identified Kate went through and identified the specific expenditures that were allowable under the agreement that we had with them, and that's how we've gotten down to the 468,000. But if there was more, I sure wish that they'd give us some receipts on those. I felt like they were making a big push to try and fix up some of the units before they were sold. So.
And our staff was phenomenal through all that.
We couldn't have done anything more.
Yeah, and we normally wouldn't do, what our staff did. Our staff stepped up way above and beyond what was normal business.
Okay, so if we're done talking about the housing authority for now, I'll go on to a few other projects before we wrap up. So the 35,192 here for the Belfair water backup generators, that's expected to be complete by March of 2024. The Port of Allen Water Company, they've had their hardships and are just waiting on the SAM number. I know they've had trouble with that, but as soon as we get that, that can be expended. So that looks to be
just an update on that. Literally, the reason why they haven't been able to do that SAM's numbers as we normally would is they went back and found a bank account that they're trying to reconcile with, because that's the only one that the government used for them. Then they also had their on-site location as Mason County itself, and Lisa Frazier and her address and PO box. And so they've been fixing all these different things because it's completely out of whack. It's not even close, but he's just about there, he told me.
Okay, great. Well, hopefully they can get that resolved fairly quickly. The North Mason fire, that one is that should be expended by June. The Mason County, the fiber optic infrastructure upgrade, 425,000 is what we have allocated in there. It says here there will be leftover funds, but after talking to TJ last week, it looks like there may be leftover funds. So we're not positive if there will be or not. And leftover funds, I don't know exactly how much, if we're expecting any, maybe in the range of $50,000 roughly, it sounded like somewhere in there. But we can keep an eye on that. The PUD one, the Ukraine storage upgrade, they may need an extension until September of this year.
Can they use some of the funds for the if they're putting this in the same location that the old facility was at? They did a lot of money and a lot of work on the property itself. Can it be used for that?
I would have to go back and look at the contract and how it was written.
Okay. Again, I just don't want to see that money be left over because 9/30 is after that mark.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably just revise the contract if that's something you want to do. I'll go back and take a look and then let you know. The Belfair substation, that should be complete by the deadline. Administration is just kind of our whatever is left over, because we're expending more than what is actually allocated there, which is fine, I think, because we have Kate budgeted under support services, and then I just transfer funds from ARPA to cover her salary. So if we run out there, I mean, we still have the interest revenue that we're earning off of the Fund 155, which the county can keep by the Treasury's rules. So that's, one way to pay for Kate out of there, or pay for administration out of there. But
Yeah,
anyway,
can you explain that one to me, please?
Yeah, so we when we did the obligations, we obligated more than what it would cost to fully have administration plus all of our obligations. So so what I did is reduce the amount of the administration that we have obligated, because I had obligated, or I had not obligated, I had figured out that roughly it's about anywhere from 80 to 100,000 in expenditures to administer these funds each year. So, taking that times 6 years, if we figure that we're going to have administration for 6 years, it's between 500 and 600,000 roughly. Well, we only have 319.74 obligated under administration. So the difference is going to be paid out of the general fund, but we're earning interest on these ARPA funds. I think we earned a couple 100,000 last year. So we're making up that difference there. Does that make sense?
How are we handling the interest that was made from the ARPA funds? Is there a restriction on that?
There is not. It has to be reported to SAO. So it's reported, but we don't have to return it to the Treasury. We get to keep the interest that is earned. And it can be spent for any general government purpose, is my understanding. So I would assume once we're all done and we dissolve this fund, any remaining funds will just be turned into the general fund.
Could this is for the commissioners, could we consider putting that money back out in the end also?
The interest?
Yeah.
I don't know what the rules are on that, like obligating it to other entities, like if it can be treated in the same way. I would have to research that a little bit more.
Go ahead. Didn't mean to put a monkey wrench in that. What else you got?
So right now, the remaining balance on the completed projects, that's 240,325. We could go ahead and re-obligate that amount. We could do that in whatever way you want to do that.
Personally, I personally would rather wait until we get closer to see what other funds we could have in there. I don't like to go out once, not twice. How do the commissioners feel about that? And the little screens, I can't see the faces, so I can't see if you're thinking or nothing. Kevin's whole face is covered up on mine. There he is. So how do you feel about that, commissioners? Just you want to go out now, or do you want to wait a little longer?
I think my preference. Oh, go ahead.
I'm comfortable either way. I do know that we have some projects that it would be nice for us to be able to pay with this. and not have to take it from someplace else. So, but I'm good either way.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, if Jen, you feel like you need to do a little bit more research on it, that's also fine. I mean, you know, do you have a ballpark on how much it is?
The interest? On the interest?
Yeah. Mhm.
I believe it was somewhere in the range of 200,000 to 300,000, if I remember right.
Yeah, it's a good
I
chunk.
might be, yeah, I might be off on that. But I'll research that and let you know.
Well, and that we may have other funds that are coming due here that we can allocate out here shortly. So that's another, I'd rather wait a little while until we have a better number to work with.
Yeah, the other piece that I need to think about too is the internal allocation, because I had this fund as being exempt. I had it in like the, like they don't pay category, thinking that, oh, we have Kate's time, that we're obligating, but that's not right. I should have been charging this fund an internal allocation, and it's about 55,000 for 2023. So that would be paid out of that interest income. So I'm thinking a lot of it is going to be eaten up by administration and the internal allocation cost. But I'll make a spreadsheet on that and kind of try to see where we're going to end up with that, see if there's anything available and if we can obligate it along with the rest of the ARPA funds.
Sounds good to me.
I do think that it takes time sometimes to get the word out if we wanted to ask other entities within the county if they were wanting to submit other projects. I know that I've gotten questions from individual entities about, hey, is there going to be any leftover ARPA money? And definitely we would be interested in it. I've told those individuals to get their information into us, and we would accumulate it with our list of other requests and present it to the commission when we determined how much we were going to have left. I do think that come end of February, we're going to know there's that big chunk of change. It's potentially coming back from the housing authority. So, we're approaching $1 million fairly quickly with that. And some of the other items that Jen had recommended, we potentially move out of ARPA into the general fund.
And I guess that's where I'm coming from, because when the question was asked is whether we go out for that 240, I'd rather wait until we see what the real number is and go out for the full amount closer to $1 million, if that's what it's going to be, so that people know what projects to go for. If it's only 240 and they've got a project that's 250, they may not want to apply. But the closer we get to knowing the numbers, that's the reason why I thought a little bit of time is better, but it does take time to get out to them. Perhaps we can just revisit this maybe the first or second week of March.
Yeah, and I'm going to be on vacation a lot of March, so I'm thinking probably April would be better. But just to clarify on these highlighted projects, I don't think we should go back out for those. I'm thinking that it would just be a safer bet to, like, these are already obligated here, but if we take that, put it into the general fund and make it for a general government type expense, public safety being the obvious easy thing to obligate, then we could still keep expending for these purposes of the highlighted funds.
Well, Jennifer, it's funny you say that, because that best describes what I was trying to say about over allocation.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so by doing it this way, like I was talking about, if we're going to take it out of our regular budget anyway, we can over allocate, and just put some of this stuff into the budget itself by us using it for other things. I try to stay away from the word supplant, but just something for us to think about again. But still,
yeah, exactly. I mean, I know it's not supplanting and it's not using the funds twice, but yeah, it's definitely not reallocating the funds somewhere else. So I just wanted to clarify that to everyone, that those funds would not be available for reallocating. So just, and we can, yeah, definitely have more discussion about that. But yeah, just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
They wouldn't be available for reallocating on a competitive basis. You would reallocate those expenditures to cover existing expenditures within the general fund so that the general fund could pay for these projects when complete.
Correct.
Spoken like an accountant.
So are the commissioners comfortable with that timeline, or you want to try and, just have it wrapped up on April 1st? How do you feel?
I would say end of April.
Yeah, and I was going to say I'm good with Jen's timeline. I think, figure it out.
As am I. Let's move forward with that then, Jennifer.
Okay, that sounds good. And yeah, we can look at this, talk about if we're going to go back out at that point or just obligate to existing projects, whatever you decide to do. So thank you. That's all that I have.
Thank you. What else you got, Mark?
Just navigating back to that. Sorry about that. I got John to talk to you about some concession services out at MCRA.
Good morning, Commissioners. We executed a contract with Mendoza's Texas-style food concessions, and within that contract gave us the ability to extend it for 3 years. What we're asking is it be approved that we can extend it to the additional 3 years, having it come due in 2026.
I think they've been a successful partnership. Personally, I don't hear anything bad, only good. I have no issue with continuing, commissioners.
Yeah, great partners. Happy to continue with them.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
There you go,
Thank
John.
you,
Is
Commissioner. Yeah, that's all I have.
Perfect. Mary?
She got tired of us.
Did she leave us? No.
Oh, there she is.
Go for it.
Yep, you're up.
Okay, sometimes it doesn't switch over to the right microphone. I have for you today updates to the personnel policy, which I know is your favorite. And we're looking at overall grammar. We had talked about extra help employees receiving holiday compensation and kind of defining the work week to be consistent with the collective bargaining agreements where it's midnight to 11:59 on Saturday, Sunday. Update to the FLSA exempt employee language to comply with current FLSA rules, and also streamlining the language a little bit. There was like an incomplete sentence or something in there I wanted to get fixed. Clarification on the reclassification process that we need to be careful about utilizing reclasses for just getting people compensation. It needs to be an actual legitimate use for under the criteria that are listed in the policy. So I just added that in there. Streamlining for compensation upon separation. There were some additional sentences in there. Eliminating the extra language around the premiums and applicable law. Again, there's a lot of extra in there when we can just refer out to RCW statutes. Addition of a temporary modified duty assignment policy. I think this will be really helpful as we look towards making sure that, we can help people stay with the county, work with them on accommodations, and also be in line with a couple other departments that have the same type of programs. And then addition of the AI policy as approved by the commission already that Diane and TJ had brought forward. And so attached to have the whole thing, and the resolution as well.
Actually, Mary, I want to tell you, it is one of my favorites. You've cleaned up a lot of stuff in this process, and you found a way to clean it up through here, including things that could have taken a long time through negotiations and everything. So I appreciate it. So keep doing it. Commissioners?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think you're doing a great job and getting us to where we should be. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I thought we had made a lot of progress with just getting part of the personnel policy. So it's refreshing to have the entire thing back in front of us today. This is great. I think these changes are good. I appreciate the attention to detail, and of course, ultimately getting us in compliance with the things that we need to be in compliance with. So good to move it forward.
Sounds like you got a yes all the way around, Mary.
Awesome. I'm gonna try to do batch updates. So things that are not an emergency, I will try to bring batch updates, so it's not a lot too often. I know that was a lot last year, so I apologize.
But you had to, hadn't been done in a long time.
I know, there's still a lot of pages.
Okay.
Good.
I said it's a fixer-upper. It's all
Yeah.
good.
It's good. It looks great. Even the formatting looks great. Mackenzie helped me with the formatting. Like, it looks beautiful now. It's all green and Mason County branded. And then the second item I have is a Fair Labor Standards Act status review and then kind of a retroactive payment. So in July 1 of 2020, the state established the criteria for FLSA exempt or non-exempt status for employees in the state of Washington. There are certain criteria in order to meet an exempt status from a non-exempt status. One of them is about salary threshold. During our FLSA review, we found a few employees that were classified as exempt when they should be non-exempt based on that criteria duties test. And so attached is a resolution to make sure that these employees receive the difference between the salary threshold versus what they were making, because it's really difficult for exempt employees to go back and say, this is what I worked in overtime. It's just not going to be feasible. So we have signatures for all of the agreements and from all the employees that are listed on the resolution, and would like to move this to action to get these employees their retro payment.
This is another example of you doing a great job when you brought this to us. I love cleaning these things up. Whenever there's a doubt, fixing it instead of avoiding it is always the best answer. And you took it straight on and brought us the options to get it fixed. And the way the commission took it on to just fix it and not even argue about it was wonderful. So pat on the back for everybody involved on that one. I'm supportive, I guess, of moving forward. Mr. Trask, are you supportive?
Absolutely.
As am I. Just a clarifying question. So is this the full list, Mary?
There's one more, I believe, that was needing to be added, or maybe it's already on there.
No, I
And
think there's one more.
okay, I think there's one more. So that one is on file with the clerk currently, the corrected list, which is just one more employee.
Okay. So when we have this in front of us, it'll have the full.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, perfect. All good.
And is this going to go before them tomorrow, Mary?
If that's okay with the commission, that's what I'd like to do.
Yeah, it's good with me.
Yep.
There you go.
And then also just on this topic, there probably will need to be additional review. This is going to be something that we do as standard practice to ensure that we're in compliance with the WAC. So as new positions come up, or we need to look at changes to the law, we will be making sure moving forward that FLSA is more on our radar. And I do appreciate Nicole and Tim Whitehead helping with this as I was out last week. So appreciate this getting done and the commissioner's swift action.
And for Mackenzie, who's going to adjust everything, I'll order pizza before I leave.
And that was all that I had on my items today for you.
And Mark, what else you got for us?
Just a couple updates. Thank you. We had a great short-term rental work party last week. Staff did an amazing job of presenting the data that they had brought forward. I talked with Marissa and Kel at the end of last week and kind of looking at the schedules, because we said we're going to bring something back in March. Looking at the comprehensive plan updates they're right in the middle of right now, that more likely isn't going to come until April, which that may work better with Commissioner Trask's schedule. So it may be a blessing inside there somewhere. But just wanted to,
if you can, I'd like to talk to the commissioners about it just a little bit, the actual stuff that was brought to us. First of all, I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was done exceptionally well. The information that we have to choose from basically covers a lot. I'm sure that each of you have gotten calls like I have. I wanted to clarify to the community, it's not that we're just trying to throw a tax on them to do anything. If there is any type of fee that will go on, it'll be just to cover the enforcement is what I think that we all were saying, if that even happens, and how that happens. But some of these things I want to remind you, it is absolutely necessary. It's not just putting a burden on somebody. It is sometimes the idea of removing a burden from people, removing the burden of having them go through and raid their oyster beds, removing the burden of having 10 cars park in front of their neighbors' driveways and blocking their neighbors. It's not just trying to be mean. There are some bad aspects of this that have trickled on to their neighbors, and one of which we talked about before, even one who is very, very staunchly against doing it. When I asked him and said, can you justify having a 2-bedroom septic and having 15, 20 people in that room? And when he said no, it was like, well, then how do we do that if we don't have a parameter around it? We can't do anything if we don't put some kind of parameter around things. And so I just wanted to share that with the public as much as anything. Is they get angry. Yes, I understand what you're saying. This has never been a commission that just taxes them and puts stuff on them for no reason. At least in all the years that I've been here, and especially with the 2 commissioners I'm serving with now, I feel they are always appreciative of everybody's property rights, but including the ones that are around them. I think that's why it was asked for. Commissioners, would you like to comment on any of that or just? Nope. Okay.
As for, well,
I don't want to put anybody on the spot. I just thought if you had phone calls, you might want to have
yeah,
communicate.
no, I'll jump in. There's a lot to this, and I'm looking forward to submitting my questions so that the PAC can have the questions, my concerns, and then see where they see what direction they take with this. But definitely a work in progress.
Yeah, and I'll just say too, I mean, first off, I mean, great job by Marissa and putting that all together. I mean, I thought it was just a really thorough report, and I thought we got a lot of great feedback from the community. You know, I don't really see short-term rentals as being, you know, incongruous with private property rights. I think when you are opening your property up to be utilized in the way short-term rentals are, I think it's valid to have, you know, have discussions around, you know, what's appropriate and what isn't appropriate there. And it's about not infringing on your neighbor's private property rights. A lot of these are in residential communities, and, you know, let's face it, not every vacationer is created equal in terms of their level of respect for other people's property and privacy. And so there is a balance that we have to strike with this conversation, and we don't want to see less people having less options to recreate here or come visit. We don't want that at all. But at the same time, you know, we just have to be aware that there are costs associated with having these, you know, types of properties in our community. We covered a lot of them last week, and I'm sure we'll get some more feedback. But I think this is a great first start, and I think we're moving in the right direction. And I look forward to more conversation with the commission so that we can narrow down what we think is appropriate, you know, for consideration at the PAC.
And I'm sure you guys have also looked at all your stuff. I've been going through highlighting the different things I like and blacking out the things that I disagree with. And I look forward to what it looks like when it's all done. Anything else on that, guys?
I took some notes during that discussion that I passed along to staff. So if you guys have had additional thoughts associated with maybe things that you'd like to see or like to analyze, if you could provide that to me up front, that'd be great to give to them. So when they come back to you, that they're prepared with options.
I will shortly deliver to you the documents that they gave us, highlighted the things that I appreciate, and blacked out or at least a square around it to explain the things that I may not be so happy about, and maybe a few notes of things that are not covered. But I got to tell you, they covered the majority of everything. That there may be a couple little tiny things on the bottom, but everything's in there one way or the other. Even if you don't like it, it's in there.
Yeah, I was super impressed with our community also in providing feedback. So sometimes it's tough to get feedback on items, and seeing the quantity and the details provided in the responses from our community members, that actually makes our job easier to present to the commission than what the community's feelings are. So thank you to those individuals that took the time to fill out the responses and submit them to us.
I think Commissioner Schutte said it last time that that was the largest response that he's ever seen. I'm pretty sure it was the largest I'd ever seen as well since being here.
Yeah, we encourage that to continue. So other topics that come up, maybe we'll steal some of the avenues that our planning and development took to get responses, and utilize those in different areas when we're reaching out to the public to get some feedback on policies that we need to adopt or we need to address here at the county, and how people feel about those and how they potentially impact them. So it's great.
Anything else for us, Mark?
I do. I was asked to bring forward the career incentive pay policy. So this is something that we've been striving to figure out here at the county, and we implemented it a couple years ago, and haven't had a lot of progress on moving forward on this. In fact, made some changes to it based on information that was brought in, best practices, kind of looking how to do it. It's not a common program that exists out in other counties, so we really didn't have anything to steal from other people to say, hey, this is how you implement it and this is how you do it. It was fairly innovative thinking of how can we create a opportunity for a career ladder and a bench for certain positions, attracting people to come to the county and then actually keeping them here, so that when positions opened up as they went through their career ladder within the county, that they may be available to apply for those. So we've struggled with it, and we've had a difficult time doing it. We have received some requests. It was really difficult to try and create kind of a standard that we could apply to a huge group of people. And I know that we've talked to commissioners about the progress of this policy, and it was brought up to me the other day that they'd like to kind of revisit whether we need to have a career incentive pay policy in place. So would definitely love to hear some feedback from all three commissioners on how you'd like to move forward or not move forward with this.
I had a conversation with the sheriff just recently about this the other day. It would be a wonderful thing to continue in order to help us with our corrections and stuff like that. But I understand where the commission are coming from my conversation with Mark, and I will support whatever decision the two of you decide. If you decide it goes away, it goes away. I'm not going to fight it. I would hope you consider it a little bit more, especially working with the sheriff on the corrections, because that could really show how the benefits and how it could work. But again, I will support wherever direction you two want to go.
I think the frustrating part, for me at least, is has been that nobody has really, outside of the commission at the elected or department head level, has really engaged on this and brought forward things that they thought would be impactful to the incentive policy, and so that's my first frustration with it. And I think the second frustration that I have with it is just, is simply that I don't know that it's actually working the way we intended it to work. And so my thought is let's look at maybe some education incentives in terms of like covering some of the costs associated with different trainings or certifications, much like we do CLEs or bar dues and things like that with our attorneys. I think there are some options there that we could look at that would help get people additional training or education that would be beneficial and have them move up that way. There, I think, is also an opportunity to continue looking at our job descriptions and what those minimum qualifications are in terms of building a career path that way. And then the other thing that we're doing now that we weren't doing when this was first instituted is we do have an actual plan to review our non-represented salaries and things like that, and actually put money behind those recommendations and get those taken care of. And of course, we're constantly doing that with our represented workforce as well. So I think it would be appropriate to pause on the career incentive policy and evaluate some alternatives that might get us moving a little bit better than the career incentive policy. I think we adopted this. What are we, about 18 months into this, maybe a little bit longer. And we've only had maybe a handful of legitimate requests, and I don't like the self-selecting nature of it. And that's why I wish we had more leadership from other electeds and department heads to have those discussions with HR or the full commission in these settings to actually work through some of those issues. But I think it's time to move in a different direction.
Commissioner Trask?
Yeah, I agree. I've not liked it since the get-go, just because I didn't feel like it was the right, I feel like we need something, but I didn't feel like that was the right thing. And so being able to do education, helping people pay for their classes and things like that. I know that we have programs already that can help people move forward and get amazing degrees. We can plan for succession and other things also. I think I agree with Commissioner Schutte that I wish others had participated in this discussion more. I think that there are programs out there. If we've got some amazing minds here in Mason County, and if we all brainstorm, and I know that we can come up with a good plan. So I would say let's pause it for a bit, figure out what works, what doesn't work, and go from there.
Okay, so just the old expression, when everybody's in charge, nobody's in charge. I would have loved to have taken a role of leadership to go and do something, but I didn't have authority to do something like that. So literally, we had nobody out there driving it. And even with blessings, it's a little dangerous to even do something like that as a commissioner. So with that, when you're saying put it on pause, I think we need to do either a repeal or something. I don't know how you put it on pause. So I'd like to ask for recommendation on how to handle that. Mark, is that through a repeal or through another resolution or something?
I think my recommendation would be to rescind the resolution and the policy, and then I think we can all engage then with the electeds and department heads and figure out what those obstacles are, and then build a policy if we need one that better reflects that. And I think that's probably the right approach at this point.
That's what I thought it would take also. So I'll support that as well. Commissioner Trask?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're well past due for a department head and an electeds meeting. So let's get one of those on the books, get it on the calendar. And this can be one of the many topics that we put on the agenda.
Why don't we ask for that right now? We give a timeline. What do you think about April? You'll be done with what you're doing at that point. What do you think about setting one up towards the beginning of April?
Yeah, I think that would work for me.
Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first or second week of April would make a lot of sense.
So take that as a request, please.
Gotcha. Just to make sure that we're clear on how we're moving forward. Obviously, this is something that we'd have to bring back before the board in a regular meeting. So to rescind the career incentive policy. We do have some individuals that are currently receiving benefits through this. How we've handled it in the past when we've changed is we've basically frozen those individuals at that salary. And I think the term that's commonly used is Y-rated. So those individuals would be held, they wouldn't receive a decrease in compensation. They would be held at that compensation level. And as those positions increase and you have like across the board increases, or let's say we go out in 2025 and do another non-represented salary comparison that impacts those positions, they would not receive a raise until those studies or that across the board increase brought them up above and beyond where their current salary is. Does that make sense, or is that kind of confusing?
No, I understand it.
Sense to me.
Yep, makes sense.
Okay. All right, Mark, what else you got?
I think that those are the two main things I wanted to discuss with the commission. Be happy to discuss anything else if you have, and I can get that meeting set up for all department heads and electeds first or second week of April. And would you prefer to do that on like a Wednesday, or would that be something that you'd want to do as a part of or just after a regular meeting?
I like doing it after the Tuesday regular meetings because they're paying attention to those. That's one of the things that we do see is a lot of our electeds are on that meeting. So if we can just keep them engaged, it would maybe help. That's my 2 cents. What do you guys think?
Yeah, and I'd love to have it in person.
Oh, yes, please. I agree. I would like to have it in the chambers.
Mark, I think April 2nd looks like we don't have a regular meeting. If we wanted to do it that morning, or the 9th, whatever is easier to kind of set the room up.
All righty. I will get that going. Thank you.
Okay, any commissioner discussion?
Loretta just sent an update. So the in-person open house regarding the freight corridor is from 5 to 7.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She had actually sent me a Teams message and I forgot about it. I put it on my calendar as 4:30 because the travel time. to get
time.
up, so
Yeah, but there's also, if you're not able to attend in person, there is an online open house. And I just looked through it, and it's pretty interesting. I like the timeline. I like the information that they've showed. But if anybody has comments, please go in there and comment. If you're not able to attend the open house. Also, if we could talk about our AAA board member, I'd love to move her
Oh,
forward.
yes. Yeah. What do you think, Commissioner Trask? You're on that committee.
I would love to move Stephanie forward.
That's what
Yeah.
You want to get her tomorrow since we're already doing one tomorrow? I still got to order pizza, so.
I'm good with it, whatever Mackenzie's comfortable with.
Okay. As am I. Anything else? Other commissioner discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move we adjourn.
I'll second.
There's a motion, a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed. We are adjourned. Have a great one, everybody.
Tomorrow.